Good evening. Welcome to the WPCA and Town Council meeting of Tuesday, June 16th. It is 6:31. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Angeloni.
Here.
Deputy Mayor McMillan.
Present.
Counselor Diamond.
Here.
Counselor Goode.
Here.
Counselor Mace.
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Here.
Counselor Whitworth.
Here.
Counselor Zampano.
Here.
Okay. Next item is minutes of approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the May 19th, 2026 WPCA and Town Council minutes?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion was made by Deputy Mayor McMillan, seconded by Counselor Diamond. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next is community events and presentations. Seeing none, we will continue on to WPCA agenda. Any citizen statements regarding the WPCA? There's no unfinished business. Next item is discussion and action on the Viola agreement.
Good evening. Tonight, I'd like to speak on the proposed agreement for the operations, maintenance, and management services for the town sanitary sewer collection system with Veolia Water North America. We're requesting a bid waiver to be granted for this project. Veolia project manager Shane Buchanan, who's been really great to work with, is our liaison. Veolia has been performing the town's sewer operations work for the past 21 years, since 2005. They've worked under the current agreement for the past 12 years. They were the only bidder at the time. Veolia has been doing a great job. The town has developed a comfort level with their qualifications and overall performance. They always respond in a timely manner. The initial term of that agreement was for 4 years with 2 4-year extensions. The second 4-year extension started in September 2022 and included mutually agreed upon annual price increases of 3.5% for the first year and at 3% for years 2 through 4. The current annual fee is $211,363. That includes the annual facility operations and maintenance program, video inspection of 10% of the system each year, jetting of 20% of the system each year, and a $25,000 allowance for maintenance and equipment improvements over the year. In the current agreement, current proposed agreement, there's no changes to the services provided for the 5-year contract. And Veolia is proposing an annual price increases of 0% for year 1, 1.5% for year 2, 2.75% for years 3 and 4, and then the CPA for year 5. But they're willing to make a concession of anywhere between 2.75 and 3.5%, depending upon the CPI. The services that Veolia provides, they're on 24-hour call for any emergencies. They monitor and maintain 5 pump stations and 4 metering stations. They respond to all alarms and emergency situations associated with the collection system, pump stations, and metering stations. They provide monthly activity reports. They purchase and maintain vehicles and equipment necessary to operate the system, which is very expensive. They complete an annual review of our system and provide us with any capital improvements that we may need to budget for the next year. They maintain spare parts for the system. And they have also developed, along with the town, hotspots so that there's areas where we know that we have concerns, that we have backups or we have potential backups. So we make sure that we address those areas more frequently than the rest of the system to make sure that we don't have any issues. They calibrate our meters every 6 months and provide us the detail. And they also provide CBYD markouts for emergencies, after hours, and the cover vacations and holidays. Veolia is able to provide this competitive pricing because it also provides services to the towns of North Haven, Orange, Seymour, Derby, Norwalk, Newtown, and Stonington. To summarize, I feel that based upon the limited available contractors, their performance and proposed fees for the 5-year period, it would be best to provide a bid waiver for Veolia. I can take any questions if you have any.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to this contract? I will say that this did come before the Finance Committee at our meeting last week, and it was discussed there. And Fran Marola, the Director of Public Works, was also there, and he also spoke about how well Veolia has been for the town and the work that they have done for us in the last contract. And he was very supportive of us moving forward with the contract.
I have some figures here. One of my concerns is the maintenance and repair. It's $25,000, no variables, that fixed. Is it a use it or lose it? They get $25,000 if it's less, but if it's more, they don't get more, they only get $25,000?
Nope, so what we do is we, based upon the repairs and what their recommendations are, what needs to be done is based upon the 25,000. It's not use it or lose it. So if we don't use it all, then it rolls over to the next year so that we can utilize it at that time. It would be a capital expense.
So if during any 1 year, it's more than 25,000, what happens? We only pay the 25,000?
We would only make the repairs that we can within that $25,000 allowance. Otherwise, we do provide for capital improvements to the system. Like this past year, we bought a what's called a Muffin Monster. It's a grinding machine that helps grind up any rags or what have you that get into the system. We also work on replacing pumps as necessary.
Okay, so that I have a clear understanding, you can agree or not agree, is that over the 4 years, there's a 10.5% raise from the beginning of 168,000 to the $231,694. So each year, the first year is 1.5%, which is
0%, sorry. The first year is 0%. They're keeping their price consistent for the first year.
I said the first year is okay, so, but in the next year, it's 1.5%, which gives an increase of 2,523. Then at 2.75%, that's 4,000 change. And then at 2.75, it's 4,800 addition. And then in the last year, 3.5%, it's a 6,300. So each year, they're capitalizing and compounding their interests every year. Are you aware of that?
Yep, yes, yep.
So those are my concerns. So I wanted people to understand it's not without its costs. So it's costing a hefty bill, especially if the rate of inflation in the country, the economy is only 4 or 5%, and they're already at 10.5, guaranteed 10.5%, okay? So
Well, that's over 5 years, though, that 10 and a
44
half.
years. 1, 2.
Well, no, it's
It's
five.
a five-year
The
contract.
first year was free, I see that.
Yeah, but it's
First
still
year
a
was
5-year contract, so it's 10 and a half over a 5-year, which is still, these rates of increase are still cheaper than the last 5 years that we had, that he just read off how much they went up each year in our current contract that is
Right.
expiring. So Finance Committee felt this was a fair deal and to bring it forward for 5 years, this percentage increase.
They do a great
Everybody
job
to
too,
know.
very committed. As it's stated, they're there when they, when they need to be on call, 24 hours.
Yeah,
They've done a
Plus,
good
there
job.
aren't that many bidders, right?
And there's
Yeah, we're
also,
not-
there's only one last time.
There was only one bidder last time when they went out
Right.
to
they're
bid.
good by us.
But what's
And it's my understanding that, as you said, they do a good job.
No, we
They're
don't,
always
because it's in the
available.
motion too.
And I have to say that there's been a couple of times where we have reported backups into basements or what have you, and they were there within half an hour with all their equipment ready to solve the problem, and, been very happy with their resources and response.
Okay. So there is a suggested motion on page 25 of our packet.
I'll read that motion. Be it resolved that the North Branford Water Pollution Control Authority approve waiving the bid requirement and authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement with Veolia Water North America, Veolia, to provide operations, maintenance, management services for the town sanitary sewer system for a 5-year term in accordance with the submitted prices and subject to the review and approval by the town attorney. This includes the option to extend the contract for 2 subsequent 5-year terms, subject to town council approval.
Second.
Motion was made by Deputy Mayor McMillan, seconded by Councilor Diamond. Any further discussion?
A question about the motion, if I may. All right, as it was read, it says that it's in accordance with the submitted prices and subject to review and approval by the town attorney. I mean, in reality, the town attorney is not really approving it. It's reviewing and concurring with. Is that more accurate to say that?
Well, he's approving, he's not approving the motion, he's approving the contract, the language in the contract is what he's reviewing and approving the contract, not the actual motion of accepting the contract.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Citizen statements in regards to Water Pollution Control Authority. Seeing none, we will go to the regular town council meeting. Okay. Our first item on the agenda under regular town council is the appointment of our a town manager. So the town council has been busy. We had a number of applicants. The job has been posted since February. We went through budget season, and then we took up the role of being the search committee for the town manager. We interviewed a number of candidates, and we are happy tonight to be able to appoint the new town manager for North Branford. And Deputy Mayor McMillan will read that motion.
Yes, we are going to enter in item 8, motion. Madam Mayor, I move that Scott Nichols be appointed as town manager effective July 1st, 2026. The annual salary of $160,000 and upon terms as set forth in a written agreement between the town and Mr. Nichols in such form as approved by the town attorney. And I further move that the residency requirement for the town manager as set forth in the charter be waived.
Second.
Motion was made by Deputy Mayor McMillan, seconded by Councilor Mace. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? And Scott Nichol is in the audience tonight. And Scott, would you like to say a few words? First, congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. Very much appreciate it. Town Council for the unanimous appointment. I wanted to thank you for, this is just a tremendous opportunity in a great town to be able to be in service. I want to thank you for an outstanding process. The interviews were great, very thorough. You did your due diligence. And that is always a good sign for a good partnership moving forward. And my job as town manager will be to serve at your pleasure. I wanted to acknowledge Rory Burke, who has been the acting town manager since January and has done a fine job. And I just wanted to publicly extend my thanks and looking forward to a great partnership with Rory. I know it will be, we're going to have a lot of fun and do a lot of great work for the town. I wanted to take a moment just to, when we think about service to the community and just enriching the lives of North Branford residents, it all comes from a foundation of family. I just want to take a brief moment to introduce some members of my family, both of my sons. This is Reese Nichol. He's going to be a junior at Ellington High School. Carson Nichol, who is going to go into his junior year at the University of Connecticut. And the love of my life, Heather Nichol, my wife, she is a principal in elementary school in New Britain. So I just wanted to thank them for all of their support. I wanted to close with, I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank you for all of your You know, the town manager serves at the pleasure of the town council, who represents the constituents of all the residents of North Branford. And so all the work that we do is about enriching their lives, allowing them the best freedom they can for their pursuit of happiness. That's our job. That's it. It's the North Star. And I'm well aware that there is a lot of great boards and commissions, department heads and town employees that feel the same way. And so I greatly look forward to establishing great relationships, really diving into the work, enjoying it, and just having a great experience here. And, you know, it is truly is an honor. So I just want to thank you and look forward to the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Welcome.
sir. Welcome.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is reports of committees, boards, and commission. First one is economic development.
I have nothing.
Okay. Park and Recreation met last month and just went over all of their activities. They are getting ready for their summer camp program, which is always very successful and is generally full up at Park and Rec. And also a new thing that they have started is that they now take reservations for pickleball from between 5 p.m. and I think 10 p.m. You can go online and make reservations. There are 5 courts that take reservations and then 5 courts that are just open play. So that's a new feature that is run through Park and Rec. You just go to their website and you can make your reservations there. And that's all I have. Police Commission?
Okay, the Police Commission met on June 8th. Counselor Godin and I were very pleased at the beginning of the meeting, which began with a unit citation by Chief Lovelace. He recognized both North Branford PD and Fire Department and Guilford. There were members of the Guilford Fire Department there as well. They all received a citation for the work they did for an incident in May on a report of a missing juvenile. It was a really lovely thing for them to do, and they all got a beautiful citation from the chief. The chief also mentioned that they've had quite a heavy workload lately, that they're doing very well, but they've been very, very busy in town. He talked about one of the officers is developing a citizen police academy, which I guess will probably start in the fall for about 15 to 20 residents. They're going to be erecting a fence around the impound lot and dumpster. And I'll tell you, we had a lot of continuing discussion about that whole project at Twin Lakes Road. That's going to be a big project for a long time. People are coming and talking about it and concerns, and I think there's going to be a lot of involvement on that one. And that's my report.
Okay, great, thank you. Fire Commission?
Fire Commission met on June 4th, and they had the calls for May were a total of 217 of various, majority being emergency medical. Then also, there was a letter from Assistant Chief Esposito, moving to active retired as of July 1st, 2026. And I'd like to thank Anthony for his dedication to the town. It's been about, 45 years in?
45 in the plan, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not quite sure what active retire is.
Active retirement means at 65, you can stay active, but you can start collecting your pension.
Okay, all right, thanks. And then
Yes, still be the
there was 3 other members acknowledged for going above and beyond. Jimmy Gleason, Bob Onofrio, Bob Odell, for their assistance in regards with a gentleman needing fuel oil in his driveway cleared, an elderly man, and they took good care of him and got him his oil, and also bringing a woman to a doctor's appointment and then back home. So that was it.
Okay, thank you. Planning and zoning?
Planning and zoning, I missed that meeting. I was on vacation. Looking for the minutes and report back.
No problem. Finance Subcommittee, we met last week. There are a number of items on our agenda tonight, later on regarding things that we had talked about at Finance Committee. So the things that East Shore Health is here, which will be giving a presentation a little bit in regards to a request for some water quality, a replacement of a truck in Public Works. They had a very rough winter. As we found out during budget season, they were down, they lost 3 trucks this season, and now they've lost a 4th truck. So they're coming forward with some, with a request for that. And then we'll have just the regular financial reports also on here. That's all that I have. Public Safety Communications Subcommittee.
Public Safety met on June 10th, and Mayor Angeloni joined us for that meeting. We received an update on the testing of the new channel lineup that was done by the department. I have to give a lot of kudos again. I probably did it last week or last month. Deputy Chief Colangelo has really done an outstanding job in coming up with a new system. It's working so far. And it's interesting that we have found out that there are other towns that are having problems with the repeaters from Motorola. We want Motorola to come for a meeting in September, but before that, on September 9th, the committee would like to have an executive session, hopefully with the town attorney. And what we would also like to do is have the people on council who are liaison to fire department and police department. We'd like the mayor and the deputy mayor to be there. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think this whole issue with Motorola has gotten out of control and we need to do something. So what we'd like to do, and I'm gonna be emailing the town attorney, to have this meeting on September 9th. And if you guys can all come that are part of those commissions, I think it's important. I think it's time to make a decision what's happening with Motorola. Now, they claim they're gonna fix it, but no one's heard from them. So that's my report.
Thank you. Inland Wetlands,
No report. I don't believe they have met for a couple months.
okay. That usually means they don't have anything on their agenda. It's just, they're not putting things off it. They just,
Right.
Inland Wetlands doesn't have anything right now, so that's fine. Blueprint Committee, no meeting, okay. All right. That concludes reports from committees, boards, and commissions. We are on to the town manager's report.
Tonight I'll be speaking about the incident that occurred at 21 David Lane on June 5th. All of the investigations remain ongoing. Once they're completed, the investigating agencies will release them to the public. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection completed their site cleanup. They removed all the improperly stored materials. They also conducted well testing on all the adjacent properties, which came back negative for any contamination. Regarding the town's actions to date, enforcement efforts go back to at least 2010, with subsequent enforcement actions in 2014 and 2017. Our files indicate that the property was cleaned as of May 2019. In these complaints, I could not find any indication that hazards existed beyond the blighted conditions themselves. Prior enforcement efforts focused on unregistered vehicles and operating an illegal junkyard, as the town's blight ordinance was not passed until 2024. In recent years, a zoning violation letter was issued in January of 2024. After the passage of the blight ordinance in July of 2024, a blight complaint was received and a violation letter was issued shortly thereafter. Our files indicate that the blight enforcement officer has been in frequent communication with the property owner. Generally, the town works with the property owner on a blight issue. Our goal is never to collect fines, but rather to ensure that the blight issue is remediated. Typically, fines are not imposed if the property owner is demonstrating compliance. The communications in the file demonstrate that each time fines were about to be imposed, the property owner would move forward with remediation efforts that forestalled the issuance of fines. As recently as March of this year, we again began communicating with the property owner, indicating that unless substantial progress was made, fines would be issued. Following the incident on June 5th, another violation notice was issued. The property owner currently has until June 22nd to demonstrate significant compliance or fines will begin accruing. Additionally, following the incident, the building official also issued a building code violation, which the owner will have 45 days to remediate. The town is committed to remediating the issues on the property and ensuring that the conditions that led to the fire on June 5th are remediated. We've also begun reviewing the blight complaint procedure and the current blight ordinance to ensure that similar incidents do not occur going forward. We'll bring forward recommendations to the council when the review is complete. And then additionally, I just would like to thank the council for entrusting me as the acting town manager for the past 6 months. It was an immense pleasure to work with the department heads and serve the residents of the town, and I look forward to working with the new town manager going forward.
Thank you.
Rory.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Rory, what is being done right now as far as the cleanup? Is there a cleanup going on there right now?
From the emails back and forth with the property owner, part of the issue is there's unregistered vehicles on the property. And then there's a lot of other material of all types. He's indicated that he is getting a dumpster. He's aware of the timeline. It was included in the notice that went out to him. I think, given the circumstances, he's been given a lot of leeway in the past. And I think going forward, the leash will be much shorter. Our primary concern is getting the property cleaned up. Fines do not necessarily achieve that. And so as long as he continues to demonstrate compliance, the town will continue to work with him. But if he is not making consistent progress, we will move to enforce the fines.
So we're inspecting, I guess, is it up to him if he decides, well, maybe I'll clean up today, maybe I won't clean today, maybe I'll clean next week? It's kind of up to him. Is it up to him?
It is up to the town in terms of when the fines are issued. Similar to other enforcement issues that we have going on in town, fining the property owner doesn't necessarily lead to cleanup. It is not black and white in the ordinance as to where the line is. It is largely at the discretion of the enforcement official, but it has been made clear to the enforcement official that, the property owner has been given enough leeway.
So there are going to be definitive dates of which we are expecting progress, and we will,
Correct.
under the guidelines that we have, we will enforce.
Yeah, he was given 10 business days in the notice that went out on the 9th. that
Understandably,
he
there's a
took
process,
22nd.
and a process has to be met.
Yeah.
We're a town, we're not.
He has to be given
Gestapo,
due
but-
process, he has to be given an
Yes.
opportunity to remediate. But again, if, he said that a dumpster is coming. If a dumpster does not come, then there's no leeway.
Okay.
And if things do not begin to fill the dumpster, there will be no leeway.
Yeah, but there's another house over on Beach Street where there's been a lot of complaints about the same issue about blight. And what's funny, on the way here, because I live right near there, on the way here today, the fire department was going to that house. So I was driving here, the fire department's going to the other house in town, which is the same way. So the fire department's there right now.
Yeah, the ambulance is there.
The ambulance? Thank you.
Do you have any other general updates? Okay.
Thanks, Ray.
Permanent Project Building Committee? Do you have any updates?
Largely the same. Driveway cracks remain under review at the police department. The repair of the green roof at the high school is ongoing. Entryway tile cracks are being reviewed for repair and replacement, and the warranty and closeout process remains underway. Edward Smith construction is progressing. It's currently on schedule for its July 31st completion. The storage building, no significant progress, and Stanley T, they are working on replacing the awning that leads to the side entrance, and then new signage was installed on the front of the building.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, next item is citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. So just a reminder, I see a number of new faces here. If you come up to make comments, you're limited to 3 minutes, and you need to state your name and address for the record. Also, if there's anyone that is coming up to speak about David Lane, unfortunately, the council cannot say anything in regards to that because it still is an open investigation. We will take your comments and they'll go into the record from there, but we cannot comment on the situation. Any comments at this time?
My name is Robert Spano, and I live on 9 David Lane. This incident has been going on over 10 years, and everyone knows this. It should never have happened to begin with. The blight law was in effect for 11 months. This has been reported. They sent a sanitarian who has no background in explosives, leaching chemicals, or explosions, or scrap metal that's been exploding around and almost hit children and stuff of this nature. The town and that area, the area there is very, very upset about why this is allowed to happen at this point and gone this far, all right? And we're not gonna let this go until it's completed, to not only the town, but to our satisfaction. That house, just for the public record, is rotting on the outside with holes on the end coming through, leaking into the house. The owner of the house has showed me snakes that he's been bringing out, rat snakes, and this kind of stuff. This, again, on behalf of the people behind me, their children, one of them right now is going to counseling because of the explosions and fire. And at some point, the town may be held responsible for it legally. That's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Bill Savastano, Sunnyside Drive. I'm here to support the Veterans Council that's coming up on your agenda tonight. The Veterans Council has been formed for 2 years now. There got a few items they've been working on. This Hall of Honor they're presenting is a good thing, so I'm here to support them. In the past, I've talked about a tax freeze for seniors. And I keep talking about it until I get some answers. I know we're way over the budget season, nothing we can do now. We gotta look at it in the fall, next budget season. I can only remind you that our neighbors in Branford are the first selectman had a sort of a campaign promise to get a tax freeze for seniors, and they talked about it for 6 months on the Rules and Ordinance Committee, which is on BC TV on demand. So if you want to get a little information, you can. They don't say much, but they're working on it. The blight situation, this is the worst nightmare has happened. I've been involved with blight going back in a few years, and I was part of a couple of people that was helped to get that ordinance passed, and I can see there's people here that are very, very concerned, and believe me, I appreciate that. Tataka TV, I'm not sure we ended up giving them an extra couple of thousand, but I don't know on their end how they felt about it, so. But going back to the blight a minute, you know, again, we've been talking about it very infrequently at council chambers here, but we had good luck going back several years when Tom Hogarty was here. He was a part-timer working with the town planner. And actually through COVID, he was out, and of course, COVID happened, and he left after that. But Tom was doing reports every 6 months. I think he was actually doing it on his own, not that he necessarily had to do it. And that's when, you know, you could realize what was going on in different areas, and all forms of blight, meaning serious ordinances and just some minor violations. But so I don't know if we got a new town planner yet, but I hope he's pretty strong in this. And maybe in the next budget season, we can get that part-timer back. I think the Tom Hogarty was an ex-state policeman. My own opinion is it's a good place to start. Person's got experience in handling people. And the last thing in reference to that, right here in town now, you have the BH Care. They are behavioral people. Maybe if we got a situation like they have on David Lane, we can get a behavioral person in there, or try to get them in there. That's all, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Hank Townsend, 15 David Lane, immediate neighbor to 21 David Lane. I've lived there for the past 5 or so years, and my in-laws have lived across the street for much longer than that. This has been going on for almost 2 decades now, since the property was bought. You know, even when it was cleaned up, it seems as though all the stuff was pushed into the back of the yard and covered over the tarps. The night of the fire, the homeowner was allowed to stay behind the yellow line overnight for 6 hours until the investigation occurred. We personally have pictures of him dumping bottles of acetone and other combustible chemicals into spray bottles. What the intention was with that was, I don't know. But nonetheless, I don't know if it was to hide it, to use it for other things, I don't know. If there's not 100+ buckets, there's not one. Every single year, my house is riddled with mosquitoes. I see cockroaches in the yard. If I get rid of them and then spray the property line, they never come back on that side. So clearly there's an issue here that's much, much deeper than just the outside hoard. The house is dilapidated. In my opinion, I'm no expert, but there's no way that house is livable. There's 2 almost basketball-sized holes in the roof. I mean, something's got to give here, you know. I mean, obviously all of you guys could understand that, you know, you'd be equally as upset with this. And I'm not trying to drag anybody through the mud, but obviously this man needs help. And obviously it's not going to get done on his own. I also worked with Mr. Onofrio, and this hoarding tendency also carried over to work, and it was also going on there as well. And then when he was forced to take it all home, it all got hoarded into his yard as well. So this is not an issue that is just going to go away, and he's not just going to clean up. A couple people I know offered to supply him dumpsters free of charge if he just picked it up and threw it out. He refuses to do that. He wants to separate it all into scrap. So he's clearly operating a illegal scrap business out of his yard, which, if I remember correctly, Beach Street is under investigation for the same thing. Why is this not under investigation? I think he's been shown bias because he's a volunteer firefighter. While I do appreciate that about him, it doesn't make you exempt from this. And I'll leave with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nicole Trowbridge. I live at 27 David Lane, adjacent on the other side of the house that had the explosion. I'd like to read on behalf of a neighbor who couldn't be here today. I think he summarized our experience well. I want to begin by saying that this is not personal. I have never had a negative interaction with my neighbor. I do not wish him harm. However, the condition of this property has been a serious concern for many years, and the recent fire demonstrated exactly why. I have lived in the neighborhood for approximately nearly 10 years. During that entire time, the property has contained large amounts of accumulated materials, including vehicle parts, tires, fuel containers, propane tanks, scrap materials, and other debris. The condition of the property is visible to anyone who drives by. At approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, our neighborhood was awakened by a massive fire. There were explosions, flying debris, and significant emergency response activity. Children were outside their homes watching the fire. I was concerned enough about the possibility of a larger explosion that I directed some of those children to come inside and stay away from the scene. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured, but I believe we were fortunate. The outcome could have been much worse. What concerns me most is that this was not an unforeseeable event. Many residents have raised concerns about the property over the years. Those concerns were not simply about appearances, they were concerns about safety. The day after the fire, numerous agencies responded to investigate the site. Environmental testing was conducted. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection even tested nearby wells because of the concerns about the possible contamination. That alone demonstrates the seriousness of what occurred. I'm asking the town to take whatever actions they are necessary to ensure this property no longer presents a danger to the neighborhood. Whether that means inspections, code enforcement, remediation, cleanup requirements, or other legal measures is for the appropriate officials to determine. What I am asking for is simple: a thorough inspection, transparency about the findings, and meaningful action so that the residents can feel confident that this will not happen again. The families who live nearby should not have to wonder whether the next fire, explosion, or environmental hazard will be worse than the last one. We pay taxes, we maintain our homes, and we care about our community. We are simply asking the town to protect the safety of the people who live here. I'd also like to bring up a few separate concerns to kind of go on the back of what Hank had mentioned about, while we do appreciate this person's commitment to the community as a volunteer firefighter and a past one, we do think that there was some bias shown. Upon arriving to the scene, some firefighters indicated that Mr. Onofrio was there with a garden hose, was asked to leave several times and to get out of the way. He had not. Some firefighters were injured, although those reports have been pretty quiet. I had also talked to a police officer about the possibility of substance abuse, as there is a history of that for Mr. Onofrio. I often find him sleeping in his truck down the street, and that evening when I went outside at 2 a.m., I did see the headlights on, which I initially thought he was just coming home. I was told by the police officer it was not their scope and to talk to the fire marshal. The fire marshal told me it was not his responsibility to speak to the police. Hours had gone by, no tests, no answers. We were told an original idea of why the fire may have started, and the story changed later on. I also did not get much more information beyond that from the fire marshal, although I did hear about the award that Mr. Onofrio was presented that evening. I have not seen much of an apology from that man at all, which to be expected with someone who has not taken any responsibility from this. I would just like some accountability. That night at 2 a.m., when I went outside and brought my children to the edge of our yard, 2 metal pieces went flying by their heads. Age 7 and 9. If it wasn't of the explosion, it could have been anything else.
I'm sorry, but you have to wrap it up because you're over the 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. But, you know, to hear that we are a town, not the Gestapo, doesn't feel very promising for change or a solution. I'd like you to consider the seriousness if this was your family involved.
We understand the seriousness.
Thank you.
My name's Roxanne Blansfield. I live at 10 David Lane. My grandchildren live right next door to that house. My concern with him is mental health issues, and he has firearms in that house. When he's been contacted about the blight, has anybody gone in that house or actually walked through that backyard? I know there have been people in the front of the yard and talking to him. I've got some serious concerns about his mental health issues, and when push comes to shove and he's forced to clean up that mess. I'm afraid he's gonna go after people, as he's already gone after them verbally because he's angry about what's happened. We are angry, and we would really like you guys to step up and force him to take care of that, or step in and take care of it yourselves.
I would also like to add thank you to the fire department. They did a phenomenal job of making sure the fire did not reach either of our houses. I was amazed because there was explosions that I saw that I basically wrote my house off. And the fire department did a phenomenal job on taking care of the fire. Just want to end on a good note.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Dave Tracial, 22 David Lane. I live across the street, and I've been dealing with this for 10 years. And I waited for 10 years to say anything because we were pretty friendly in the beginning, and at one time I tried to actually help him sell stuff, that sort of thing. I got to the point I couldn't sit on my front porch anymore. Whatever. Don't care. I don't really care too much about that. Next thing you know, there's trash blowing in my yard, all that stuff. Next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. File a complaint. Follow the procedure. Called the health department because I had my doubts that anything was going to happen. That was a year ago. Nothing happened. This is well documented. Very well documented, and it looks very bad for the town. I've also noticed, since I live across the street, every single day when I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I take a picture of the house because I'm the one that has to see it. My son, who now has to go to therapy because of all the explosions and gunshots and stuff that Nicole presented, has having a hard time sleeping at night. He wants to move. My kid wants to move. That's not an option. I'm not moving. He is. You follow me here? This situation is not sustainable for anyone. And I'm not having it. So I'm gonna continue taking pictures every single day, and I'm gonna probably start sending them to you, because we're gonna be tight pretty soon. And I'm gonna help you guys monitor the situation. I highly recommend you send someone down there at least twice a day, because there's no dumpster there. There's no dumpster coming. He thinks he's gonna get away with it. Don't let him.
Hello, I'm Richard Zender. I live at 33 David Lane. And like my neighbors, we've lived at that address for 37 years. I don't really want to editorialize about Bob at all. I can't say I haven't been his friend. Evening walks, stop, talk to him while he's out in the driveway. But if there was any wind that evening, or if we didn't have rains, heavy rains just prior to, there's a water company property right behind everyone's house. The whole thing, it could have been a huge conflagration into the woods and everybody else, all the neighbors' homes, at least on that side of the street. So I've lived there too long to just sit there and not say anything. I try to be quiet, but my neighbors are standing up, so I had to come up here and say something. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay. We also received a email for public comments to be entered into the record. It is, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's from Kara Papa, and her email, we all have a copy at our desk, and our clerk will enter it into the record, but it is in regards to right now that there's a group of people that are collecting signatures for a petition to request a charter revision commission. So that is actively going on in town right now. And the whole letter, the email will be as part of the minutes that everyone can read also. We also received an email from Bill Savastano, but he happens to be here tonight, and so he touched on his, but we will also enter his comments, written comments into the record that was submitted. And in our packet, there's also correspondence from a resident. This, because it's an anonymous letter, just to let people know, this will not become part of the minutes. Anonymous letters will not appear in our minutes at all. The protocol is for any comments to come into our records, we need name and address. And so since it was anonymous, it will not be part of the record at all. Okay, going on to resignations and appointments. Do I hear an appointment for Alexander Landolfi to the Veterans Service Commission as an alternate to replace Victoria Caroline, term to expire 12/31/2028?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Motion was made by Deputy Mayor McMillan, seconded by Councilor Diamond. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next item, unfinished business, discussion and action, tractor pull events.
This was an item that was discussed at the May 19th Town Council meeting. The Agriculture Commission, if you recall, is looking to take over the tractor pull events. The issue revolved around liability insurance for the town. At that time, we were awaiting some additional quotes for the insurance. It depended on a number of factors, so I touched base with Cliff Potter after the last meeting. With the information that he provided, we got updated quotes. The total for the two events would be $658 per year. So in addition to that, our insurance broker had recommended some changes with our auto liability policies. As a result, we have a savings of approximately $7,000 in that line item in the next fiscal year. And so there's sufficient funds available to cover that expense. And so, you know, the council had indicated that they wanted to pursue this. If that amount is acceptable to you, no further action is taken and we can provide the insurance coverage for the events.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to this for Rory? Okay, can you move ahead? All right. The next item under unfinished business is use of opioid funds for the Life Pack 15. This was approved at last month's meeting. Unfortunately, it was an incomplete motion on there because the cost of this exceeds our bid threshold. We need to waive the purchase requirement or the bid requirement for this because this is these, if I remember correctly, are refurbished Life Packs, right? So on the refurbished, there would only be one source, the person that is doing them, and this is at quite a savings if you had to buy them new. So we approved the purchase and where the funds would come from. So there is a motion on page 30 of our packet that we have to do to finish this one.
I'll make that motion. The town council waived the bid requirement for the purchase of 2 Life Pack 15 monitors to the town's opioid fund in an amount not to exceed $53,500.
Second that. Motion was made by Deputy Mayor McMillan, seconded by Councilor Miller. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. Now we are on to new business discussion and action. First item is Hall of Honor Veterans Service Commission. And I see Hamlet Hernandez is up.
Yes,
From
good
the-
evening. My
from
name is
the-
Hamlet Hernandez. I reside at 63 Ledgewood Drive in North Branford. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the Veterans Service Commission. First of all, I just want to thank the council for their support of the commission. It was established by this council. Tonight, really, we are here to really get clarification and a decision relative to the Hall of Honor. We've been working on the Hall of Honor to honor our veterans in town that are distinguished. And we had spoken to Mr. Downs, the predecessor to Rory, and now to Todd, around getting this hallway by the town assessors as dedicated area for the Hall of Honor. We are working on the nomination form. We have just completed that with the IT department, so we have a nomination form that we will prepare a communication to the community, working with our town manager and through the chairman, who's not able to be here this evening, Zach Poston. He's out of town. That's why I chose to do this. But we are very excited about this. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to recognize our distinguished veterans. Our first class, really, we are going to focus on historical figures in town. We have a really, really rich history in this town of veterans that have contributed substantially and significantly, going way back in town, way back in time. So that is what we envision for the first class. We hope to induct that first class in this calendar year, right around Veterans Day. That's our goal. So we're working on that. The current work that we are doing is hopefully reaching out to the Historical Society and partnering with them to find who these individuals are. Just walking through our cemeteries in town, there's a tremendous history there. So really the ask for us this evening is, will you approve the Hall of Honor in this hallway? And what we can do is we can come back to you with some mock-ups so that you can see conceptually what it will look like. But what we envision is just plaques with a picture of the veteran, if it's available, with a brief summary of their work and their contributions both in the military as well in their civilian life. And the wall will be really on the left side and on the right side, we'll just start by class. Originally, we had thought perhaps big plaques with little placards, but we really wanted to do justice to the veterans, so we thought we would just have I think it's an 8x11. Is that right, Victoria?
Yes, it is.
Okay, an 8x11 plaque. We do have some purchase orders that we're working with the town manager right now. Hopefully that we can start purchasing them because we need some lead time to prepare these and to get the citations. And November's right around the corner. So that is the ask. And again, I just want to thank everybody. And I want to acknowledge Chuck Larkin and Victoria Caroline, two members that work with us on the Veterans Commission.
Can I make the motion for the Wall of Honor?
You certainly may. Go right ahead.
I'd like to make the motion for the Wall of Honor between the
Town, this hallway by where the town assessor is,
Yeah.
sir?
What's the official name of that hallway?
It's
North hallway.
It's
Okay.
North hallway.
Wall of
The
Honor.
North
Wall of
hallway.
Honor on the North hallway.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, the motion was made by Counselor Goad, seconded by Counselor Mace. You guys have a budget, so that's what you're working out of to
That's correct.
purchase these plaques
That is
and
correct.
that
We're
type of
staying
thing,
within our
right?
budget.
Okay.
And we thank you for that financial support, because we couldn't do it without that.
Okay.
So,
Is that gonna go on top of the school kids' work?
it's,
I'm not sure if they're removing those bulletin boards and putting them in a different spot. I don't know exactly.
The logistics of that's a great question. The logistics of that, we were working with Mr. Downs at the time, and he had indicated to us that that could be relocated. We still wanted to honor the work of the students, and it was just a matter of relocating that. That's all. Any other questions? I'm happy to-
Thank you for doing this.
Okay, you're most welcome. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. So you can continue on with your work. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is East Shore District Health Department Water Quality Report. And I believe the director is here from East Shore. Mike, if you would like to come up.
Sure.
Good evening. Michael Pascasilla, Director of Public Health. With me tonight is Amy Schultz, who is the Deputy Director of Health, and Sarah Ettinger, who is one of our employees who's leading this water quality project. So Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this water quality presentation and talk a little bit about our funding request. We're going to split it in two. I'm going to have Sarah, who's leading the project, go over the research very quickly, and then I'll talk about the implications in the funding.
It takes a second.
Just give them a minute.
Is it working, Rory?
Yeah, it does not appear to be.
I see the countdown went down. Oh, there's no signal.
That's a video of the water, Mayor.
It's a beautiful waterfall.
Very blue.
Is any of this information in our packet? Or no?
No, I just got the presentation earlier today. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so as Mike said, my name is Sarah Essenth. I'm the Water Quality Coordinator for East Shore. I've been there since 2019, and the work in the Farm River has been a mainstay of my work since I've started there. So I'm looking forward to showing you a little bit of what we've done and what we're hoping to do there. So you can go to the first. Yeah, so the Farm River has a long history of high bacteria, and there's a lot of people and organizations who have been doing research on it. Since the 1990s, not only East Shore and Yale, but the Regional Water Authority and Connecticut Deep have had some concerns about bacteria in the water and have been doing testing in different areas. Further down the river, in East Haven and Branford, there have been concerns, especially over beach closures and shellfish bed closures. This was the reason that I got involved with the Farm River water quality starting in 2019. Sampling was expanded, starting to use microbial source tracking. We found high bacteria counts along the river, and so we started using this new technology that let us see what animal species was associated with it, starting in 2023. This work, if you go to the next slide, this work has been done along the length of the Farm River in East Haven and Branford, and then all the way up through North Branford, all the way up to Auger Park. Right now, we're testing water quality at 3 locations in North Branford on the Farm River, at the Route 80 Bridge, at Pages Mill Pond, and at Auger Park. We're also doing a water quality project at Cedar Lake, which Mike will talk to you a little bit more about later. Along the Farm River, we're continuing to see very high E. coli levels. We started studying the lower Farm River because of the concerns of East Haven and Branford, but our water qualities led us further and further north up the river, and we're seeing the highest E. coli counts above the marsh, and particularly in North Branford now. In 2024 and 2025, this was pretty consistent. Starting in 2026, we're seeing these high E. coli counts even earlier in the year. Normally, as the water gets warmer, we get higher bacterial counts, but this year we are starting to see high E. coli counts at all locations in May, even earlier at some places. So you can see the map here. These are the 3 locations we've tested. All of them have had high E. coli counts in 2026 and in May in the last sampling. If you go to the next one. We've had a limited budget for preliminary studies with the species testing, but both of the sites that we've tested for human waste, the 2 lower ones at Pages Mill Pond and the Route 80 Bridge, we have detected human waste. So this is an issue that's very much of interest to the health department. We do have some samples for Auger Park, and we have other samples from Pages Mill Pond and the Route 80 Bridge that we would need more funding to be able to test to get a more full picture. But because human waste has been detected, this is an important issue for us. All right, I'll turn this over to Mike now.
Right, so on the water quality implications, whenever we find human waste at detectable levels, we're obligated from a public health standpoint to investigate and do some remediation. The E. coli levels do impact North Branford residents. The river is used for many different activities, and so there's a direct relationship to North Branford residents. Also, if we go down to the river and into Long Island Sound, North Branford residents enjoy the coastal activities. And when we started this study, we started Long Island Sound in a lower river, and now the sampling is leading us up the river, which impacts, obviously, Long Island Sound. Talking to Branford and East Haven, one of the questions that has come up, because they've been funding the project, is North Branford contributing to the project. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Go to the next slide. Cedar Lake. So in 2004 and recently, we've had some issues with closing the lake. There's been algae blooms, so based on hearing from residents in the fall of 2025, we did a sanitary survey, we did some sampling, we walked around the lake, we looked at maps, looked at the elevation, and the preliminary work is continuing now in 2026. This is very preliminary. We have been meeting with Connecticut Deep. We're sharing information between the two agencies, and at some point we're going to bring in Tilcon officials just to talk a little bit about the quality of the water at Cedar Lake. Again, it's very preliminary, and some of the funding is to just do a deeper dive into Cedar Lake. Next slide. And then I just want to quickly talk about the funding, just so you understand how we got to this place. I don't take it lightly to come here, given the financial situation and asking for funding. And typically what we have done is we have exhausted grant money as much as we can, our own funds. And so in 2011, we received a state grant for a little over $41,000. In 2017, we received $50,000, but it was three watersheds. We received a third of that funding. And then if we fast forward to, and I'll go through the different funds in the town. So the town of East Haven was giving some in-kind resources, and in 2024, they contributed $20,000 to the project. Into 2025, and this year, 2026, they committed another $15,000. New Haven Green Foundation has given $8,000. Branford, town of Branford has given $20,000, and again, $15,000, so both towns gave us funding twice. Branford Community Foundation has given us $2,500 for the study along Long Island Sound, Short Beach area, and up to Farm River. State of Connecticut gave us $10,000. And then the Branford Short Beach Association has given us $17,000 for the testing and the study, along with in-kind services. East Shore is donating about $100,000 plus a year. And we've lobbied for paid internships. And as we've gone up the river, the microbial source tracking that we need to do is basically DNA analysis. Is very expensive sampling, somewhere around $800 a sample. And so East Haven and Branford has paid for some of the sampling results. It's a private lab that we're using, and so we're here tonight to ask the town of North Branford to contribute $10,000 towards this study. Next slide. All right, so with that, we wanted to keep it short, sweet, because we know you have a busy agenda, and so we're asking for $10,000, and we hope you'll consider the funding for this project.
What initiated this project?
So in Long Island Sound, we have multi-million-dollar shellfish beds. We've had beaches that we have had to close on a regular basis outside the Farm River watershed. And so we started in that area, and then we started going up the river. And as we went up the river, we have identified some sources and doing some remediation, again with Branford and East Haven. And in any good study, you also have to look upstream. So we took some samples upstream, and we started getting some high bacterial levels. So we took some more samples, and again, high bacterial levels. So initially we did, and used some of our funding to do the microbial source tracking, and we did find is detectable human levels. And so now we need to, now that we know that's an area of concern, we're going to go in and just do some more sampling and see if we can identify the source.
Sir, from the North Branford perspective, the sources that you took from, was that avian bacteria? From what I understood, that might have been brought to our attention during another committee.
Yeah, so we have found different types of contamination. So there's typically avian, canine, there's also ruminant, which is farm animals, and then human. Right now, we're looking at the human contamination, because that is at the top of our list. But we're going to look at those other sources, and through the microbial source tracking, we'll have a better idea once we get more sampling results to see where they are, how high the levels are. And then from there, we can start to do some remediation.
Is there a concern that there's enough contamination that we need to be making our citizens aware of this contamination? When people fish the river, people go in for recreation, or is that at a level where recreation needs to be considered?
So not at this time. And the reason why is just because it's identified doesn't mean it's pathogenic. And so through this testing, we'll have a better idea. So if I test water anywhere, I'm going to find some level of human contamination. We're going to find birds and canine. What we need to do is to do some more sampling and quantify it and see where that threshold is. Just a few samples is not enough.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to scare folks, but right now we have identified it, and now we have an obligation to take it to the next step.
How does DEEP fit into this? How does the different organizations work on this?
Yeah, so over the years, there's been many studies on the Farm River watershed. In fact, there's a group, Friends of the Farm River, that regularly go out and do some sampling. There's been some private sampling that's done. And what we have done, specifically Sarah, is we're getting our arms around all that research. Because not all the organizations are communicating. There's been some studies that no one ever contacted us. And so that's like one of the projects that we're doing, is wrapping our arms around all the research. We have consulted with DEEP, but on DEEP's side, it's really more of a local matter. So if we find other sources, we could certainly consult with them, and we have consulted with them. But typically rivers are, and for finding human waste, we as an agency, as a local agency, and towns have to conduct the research. We have applied for some of the grant money, and I've looked at lots of grants. We applied for several. We haven't gotten them right now. In the world of environmental health grants, there's just not a lot. So the feds and the state have done some cutting. We've looked at community foundation grants, and unfortunately, as I'm aware of, there's no local North Branford community foundation grants we can apply for, and we have exhausted every grant that we could. Those are the ones we got. There's a whole number of the ones that we didn't receive. We've gone to the towns of Branford and East Haven, and now we're going up the river, and we're concerned with some of the results that we're getting. Again, it's preliminary. And so next steps for us is we're going to take some more samples. We're hoping for this funding, and then we'll come back and report out once we get the results.
Anthony, would we have room in contingency to help with the funding on this?
Certainly.
Is it the contingency, this year's current contingency?
27.
I have a couple of questions. How'd you come up with the figure of $10,000 for North Branford?
So when we look at the Farm River, lower river is actually wider. There's more area to test. It's more houses, more subdivisions, whereas we go up the river, it narrows and there's not as much. We were thinking about asking for the $15,000 or $20,000, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to be fair. The next phase of the study, $10,000 will cover the next phase of the study. When we get the results, depending on what that is, there may be more testing that's needed, and we may have to come back here or look for other grants. But we wanted to be fair as a start, like we did in Branford and East Haven. So this is a start.
How do we know when the $10,000 has expired? I mean, is there a time frame for this?
Well, I put together a report, and it outlines a budget. So you should have gotten that.
It's in our packet. The budget's in our packet.
All right, so I'm not a fisherman. I can't ever remember going fishing, but I do see people fishing in the Farm River. Is the farm up in North Branford, is it stocked? And if they catch the fish, are the fish edible, or we have to worry about this bacteria?
So as of right now, we're not doing shellfishing. Shellfishing is different. That's more in the saltwater bodies. Freshwater fish, even if there's some level of human waste, it's not going to, it should not contaminate the fish, at least not at the preliminary levels that we have seen.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I always wondered if they caught the fish if they ate them.
Yeah, you're eating the meat of the fish, so it's not as dangerous. And again, the levels we're seeing are high enough that we need to do an investigation, but they're not so high that we are sounding the alarms. We need to just investigate a bit further.
But I always thought when you were fishing, the water had to be moving, running somewhere. So the water was still, was not a good sign. The water was low.
Yeah,
Now, is the Farm River stocked by the state?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Oh, it
is.
is?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Like I said,
And this is running river water, we're finding it. So, that's another area of concern when we see any kind of contamination in running water, especially over time.
So with your testing, you'd be trying to narrow it down to find out if there's failed septic system somewhere or where the source is? Is that what you
Correct,
call it?
yes. Yeah, so next steps is we'll take some more sampling. We're looking at maps and trying to see where, and as we walk the river, we're looking for pipes or any areas of direct discharge. And when we do the testing in different areas, the levels are going to go up or down. And as they go up, we kind of home in on those areas. And then if, there are some failing septic systems, we would have to address that. Obviously, we'd be working with different town officials, and we've been talking to the town officials about this.
But the northern end of, the almost origin of the Farm River is in a zone that has primarily septic or sewer. In that general watershed area, so there's not as much septic in there or homes around it. So hopefully not up that far, but.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But it could be a broken public sewer line somewhere.
Yeah.
It could be leaking. So again, this is where we need to
Good.
go a little deeper.
To look into it, sure.
So you've been doing this for several years,
Yes.
this testing? So why wouldn't it be in your budget?
Why wouldn't the testing be in our budget?
Because you did it last year, you
So
did
it
it the
actually,
year before.
it has been in our budget in the sense that we've been doing this since 2012. I mean, if you go back to about the 1990s, there was some testing done, but technology has changed. And we started at the lower Farm River and Long Island Sound because that was the biggest area of concern because we were seeing beach closures. We were seeing high bacteria levels that impacted shellfish beds. And so that's where we started. And then we started moving up. And as we moved up, we identified some other areas of concern.
And the only source of those shell beds getting contaminated was right above from the Farm River, just in that area?
That's one of the areas, yes. I mean, but it also could be from Long Island Sound, but coming from the river was the main source. In fact, the Department of aquaculture downgraded some of the shellfish beds in the Farm River because of some of the high bacterial levels. Yeah.
How does Cedar Lake tie into this?
Sorry?
Cedar Lake, how does that tie into this?
So when we were looking at Farm River, Cedar Lake a couple years ago, we were seeing residents came to us. We had to close the beach. 2024 also, we saw some algae blooms, and we recommended no more swimming. And so then we started sampling at about the same time as we were going up the Farm River. So what we decided to do is roll these two projects into one. Because we have a number of interns right now that are working for us, taking water samples. And so we extended the Farm River and added Cedar Lake to it because Sarah's working on that water quality project.
Okay.
So I didn't quite understand the answer on, so you're looking for $40,000, 15, 15, and 10. So
For all three towns,
why wasn't
correct.
that in your budget? We just came through the budget period, so why don't you just put that money that you need for this water testing in your budget?
You mean in the per capita fund budget? So
Your budget, we just approved our share of East Shore Health. So what I'm saying, if you put that 40,000 in and divided it by the three towns, it's
So-
minuscule
yeah.
coming to us after the fact.
So we didn't,
A month
we
after
wanted
we
to
just
keep the
did our
per,
budget.
we wanted to keep the per capita budget, which for our normal programs as low as possible. So we didn't want to increase the per capita budget for a water quality study because at some point this is going to end. So it would not be fair to the towns if I raised the per capita significantly every year for a single project. And so what we did is we separated it out. So that's why, because if I raised the per capita to $16, $17, we would be having a different kind of conversation. Also, it wouldn't be fair to the towns across the board because the lower Farm River would get more resources than the upper Farm River. So that's one of the reasons why we kept it
But
separate.
also for like Branford and East Haven, so, they own the beaches that get closed. They have, some of it's public, some of it's private. My son-in-law owns a shellfish and bed. Those properties in Branford and East Haven, I mean, it's a lot easier for them to come up with 15,000 when they're had house after house after house on the shoreline, on the beach, paying well over 100,000 in town taxes. In North Branford, we don't have a right to go to one of those beaches, and we don't own a beach. So, it's different for us to come up with, to fund the money. It's a lot easier for them.
I acknowledge what you're saying, Al, and I understand. However, if you're a resident in those towns or those towns and you're finding upstream human contamination in running river water in North Branford, then it's that town's
I totally
obligation,
agree that we've
right?
gotta
So
find
that, so I know what you're saying, but it's like,
It's
I
one
mean.
of two things, it's
yeah.
either a failed septic or a breach in the sewer line.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
How do you
reasons,
find that?
one of the reasons why, again, with the funding increase, not only has it come, but the other towns have asked, what's going on in North Branford? We're contributing, and we have contributed over time for years. And if you're finding contamination in the upper Farm River, then they need to take care of it. So, we're kind of in the middle here.
And then one more question, I'm sure, probably you don't know the answer. Does anybody in the room know the answer? Who owns Cedar Lake? Is that the association that owns it?
Association.
So,
No,
for
my-
my money, an association should be paying to clean their own.
My understanding, and again, we started
What's
to
that?
look, my understanding, and we started to look into this, is that the town owns it and the association only has rights to it. Because the town.
Association's only the beach anyway.
Yeah, it's only the beach
Whether they own it or
part.
not, it's only that one,
Yeah.
No,
that
but
one
somebody
cutout.
owns the lake,
Right.
okay? Someone owns the lake.
Yeah. As I understand, the town owns the lake. The town has significant
So we'll
property
look into that.
around the lake. And the association, like most associations, don't own the water. They own the rights at that beach to access the water. And I believe it's in their deeds.
Okay.
Not to prolong the conversation, but what would you do to clean the lake up?
I'll have the answer tomorrow.
What would be the process of cleaning that lake?
So right now, phosphorus seems to be the leading cause of the algae blooms. And so we're working with DEEP and looking at the permits, and then we're going to consult with Tilcon. They have permits to discharge up to 2 million gallons a day into the lake. And so we're going to, talk to them and see what can be done to maybe soften or remediate some of the nutrients that are going into the lake.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. So Tilcon dumps all that water into there?
They have permits so we are
I
not
did
the
not
lead
know that.
agency. Tilcon is the lead agency, and Tilcon has permits from Connecticut Deep to discharge from the quarry, from their holding ponds, up to 2 million gallons per day.
That'll do a job on a lake.
Bob, did you have some questions?
Well, a few things. Yes, and thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I'm a little bit skeptical about the request. I understand you want the 10,000. Well, I'm just curious, why didn't you come here with a request for 20,000 or 25,000? Were you trying to moderate what you really need, or you felt that this was enough? I mean, if you're gonna do 17 samples, why not do 158 samples? How, where does this magic number come from? Can you enlighten us on that a little bit?
Sure. So when we started the sampling in Branford and East Haven, the first request was, after we exhausted all the other grant money and some of the funding and our own resources, was $20,000. Again, watershed's bigger, more development at the lower lake. We have some preliminary samples, and so the next step is to take more samples. And that's going to cost somewhere around $10,000-ish. And we're hoping that's going to give us enough information to make some recommendations on what needs to be done next. And so if I came with a $20,000 or $30,000 request, we would be having a conversation. What are you going to do with $20,000 or $30,000? So I'm trying to be fair, and I'm looking at this right now over the next year, this sampling phase. And then we'll get the samples, we'll see where it takes us, and we'll work with town officials and talk about the next phase.
So did somebody ask Anthony already, would that be from, like if we do it now, it's this year's?
Yes, it's this
contingency?
one. Yes.
Yeah, this year's.
And we do have the money?
We have the money.
Okay, and another question, if
Yes.
I may. I've never heard this come up in inland wetlands and watercourses agency meetings. I used to be a member of that for a while. Now I attend the meetings when they actually hold them. Dr. Bergano is on that committee. As I've joked with some of my colleagues here, he doesn't want anybody even looking at the Farm River. And the watercourses agency is very keen on the fact that North Branford, our rules is anything within 200 feet of the watercourse, you got to go through the watercourses agency. It's not 100 feet by state law, it's 200 feet. So we've gone above and beyond what the state requires for that. So, I mean, I think that they've been very good about overseeing that, and being very, be very careful what you're doing or having anything to do with the Farm River. They're very protective of the Farm River.
That's right.
All that being said, I mean, you identified largely avian, right? And some human waste, but I mean, waste is waste. I mean, this, being North Branford with the farms and the forests we have around here, some open space, it's not just humans. I mean, you've got, you name it, deer, bobcat, coyotes, groundhogs, rats, mice, squirrels, you name it. So what makes this waste better than that waste is my question.
And
That
that-
sounds like a
yeah.
silly question, but I really want to know
No.
why the focus on this? Waste
Yeah.
is waste.
Yeah, Robert, that's a great question. The sampling, what it will do for us is quantify. Again, just because it's present doesn't mean it's pathogenic. When you test water anywhere, you're going to find some levels of contamination in any surface water. And so what we want to do is we want to quantify it and see if it rises to the action levels that are set by EPA and state regulations that it's going to impact human health. When we talk about watersheds, there are many agencies that are involved. We, as a local health department, are looking at human health. That's what we're looking at. That's our lens. If there are other contaminants in there that impact wildlife, that is not necessarily our role. We will work with other agencies on that. And so the funding is to take a step back, look at from 30,000 feet, do some more testing and quantify it. Will it impact human health? And is it going to impact not just the North Branford residents, East Haven, and also Long Island Sound, because everything goes into Long Island Sound and everyone enjoys Long Island Sound in some way, shape, or form. And again, it's multi-million dollars in shellfish beds and sea farming. And some of the stuff that we're doing is being done in other areas of Connecticut. So the funding is just to quantify it, so to come back with our data and to give you a better idea of what's going on and what we can do. If we're talking about avian waste, we're always going to find avian waste. It's like, that's okay, but is it in balance with the ecosystem? And is it rise to the level that it's going to impact human health?
I'd like to make a motion that the town council allocate $10,000 from this year's contingency to fund the East Shore District Health Department's
I'll
water
second
quality.
Motion was made by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor Rose. Any further discussion?
Yes. You know, in the short time I've been in the council, I mean, I've seen what I already had read about and suspected. You know, money, it's just not there. I mean, we're saying the money is here over in this pot, but trust me, there's every other agency in town that wants a piece of that action. Everybody's got their hand up, I need this, I want tax abatement, I want more books for the school, I want pay raises, it's nonstop. If you've never been on town council, I encourage anybody here to run. But, I mean, the demands on city services are overwhelming. And nobody seems to be able to say no at any point, because you want to make you happy, you want to make him happy, you want to make her happy, you want to make him happy. Hey, I got to tell you, and this is for discussion here. My question is, you know, is it possible that we can get bang for the buck at a reduced rate? In other words, if you're going to make X number of, I guess, inspections or samples at $10,000, can you get the same job done at $7,500 or at $5,000? Because if we're going to resist that, then well, heck, why not go the opposite way and say, oh, $30,000, we'll test away and we'll get a lot more valuable information. So what is the right number? They've come to us and said 10,000, and you're saying that we can afford it. Okay, that money comes from somewhere. That's 10,000 we can't spend on the police department. That's 10,000 we can't spend on the Board of Ed, you know? So, I mean, it's our job to figure that out. I just wonder if 10,000 is the right number.
If I may?
Yep.
This is a negotiated rate, and so we are getting a discount, and we're using the economy of scale because we're testing Branford and East Haven, and so we already negotiated a rate. We also talked to the State Department of Public Health. They're preparing the samples for us free of charge. There's a preparation of samples to do DNA sampling, and so that is already negotiated. So we are, from our end, we are doing it at the lowest possible, including funds that we're putting in. As a leader of a regional health agency, I'm dealing with the same things with our with budget cuts. Every one of our bills are going up. I've had to lay off staff. The money that we normally get for grants has all dried up. I need to diversify and cut. We're going through every single contract and renegotiating the contract and making some very hard decisions. And so I started off by saying when I came here, I read the paper and I know what's going on with the budget referendum and everything. I live in a town that still can't pass a budget. Tonight is the referendum. Hopefully it'll pass. And so I hear you loud and clear, and that's why it's a one-off $10,000, and I didn't put it in my per capita, because if I put it in my per capita and I came here, we would be having a very hard conversation, and it wouldn't be fair, because I would be getting questions, well, East Haven and Branford are using up more resources than North Branford, so why should we pay more? And so I've tried as best as I can, I think I've done it, to give you a fair, lowest possible price that we've negotiated out.
I'm in favor of the $10,000, and I listened to Bob's argument. But I listened to the gentleman, he was very well knowledgeable, and when I asked him how he came up with 10,000, he described that our share of the Farm River isn't as big as the other shares, and he showed how narrow it was, and he was being fair. Whenever he was asked about the different ways, he was responsive, very knowledgeable, and I trust him and absolutely knows his job. And I support the $10,000, at least this year, and if he comes back next year, then we'll have more questions. What do we get for our buck? What bang do we get for our buck? Then he can answer that. Is that okay with you, sir?
Yes.
I support the $10,000.
So I'd just like to say that when I first read this tonight, I was a hard no. And he convinced me. So-
Okay.
So.
If he convinced
So we're on the same page, Al.
Yeah, thank you for explaining everything. I was on the same page.
You did well.
Well, that's why we ask questions,
Yeah, well,
so that we
No, I
can
think-
get
I
all
think
this
we asked
dialogue
all the
going.
right-
I know, but Bob has a very good point, and
Yeah.
Bob has a strong point.
Very.
But I also know that the gentleman did not run away from the questions. He stood there
Yeah.
and rapid fire, he answered the questions
So we made
thoroughly.
it for it.
The human waste does it for me.
Well, if I caught a fish with human weights, I'm throwing the fish back, I can tell you that.
Okay,
I call it.
so,
All the questions.
okay, so we're going to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you, and when we finish our testing and quantify data, I'll be back to report out.
Thank
All
you.
right,
so much.
thank you.
The largest abutter of the lake is the Branford Steam Railroad. Steam Railroad. Goes from Route 80 right down. Then the town has a piece that's behind Cedar Lake School. And then on the southern side, as Tom mentioned, it's the association, and the rest of it is all private owners.
Is that the Tilcon?
So the Branford Steam Railroad, isn't that owned by Tilcon?
Yeah.
So I would think that they would be the biggest share of cleaning up the lake.
Well, that's why they're going to have the meeting with
Owners are
Tilcon.
responsible
Didn't you
for,
promise me a ride on the caboose that's supposed to be on there?
Yeah.
the caboose is supposed to be on there.
I remember.
Okay, we're going to move on. Next item on the agenda is the 2001 Mack truck replacement, and our Assistant Public Works Director, Dan Celentano, is here to present.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Good evening. I have a hard
Thank
time
you.
one-upping Mike here, but, so, 2001
Your
Mack
request
truck-
is a little bit higher than Mike's.
Yeah, just a little
Thank
bit.
you, Mike.
Yeah. 2001 Mack truck replacement. So there's a memo in your packet. We brought this to the town manager and then to finance subcommittee last week. Now forwarded to here. We have a 2001 Mack truck that's undergoing a transmission repair now. Pretty hefty repair. We have 3 of these 2001 trucks that we purchased 26 years ago. So during the repair, they're noticing extensive rust issues. We've had a couple frame repairs on the truck already these last 2 years, so most likely in the next couple of years, it's going to go. That being said, it's not like we just go to the store and buy a truck off the shelf. It's a couple years between buying the cabin chassis, sending it to the truck builder, building the body, plow, lights, sourcing materials from multiple different vendors. So what we're looking to do is kind of start the process on replacing this truck. What we're proposing in the memo is to buy the cab and chassis right now outright. And then this upcoming, or July 2027, we will seek funding to build the truck. What this will do is there's already a truck on the line coming in that they can put our name on. If we purchase it, it expedites the process for us. So if we do this, we'll have the truck in a year and a half built. If we wait, then it's gonna be longer than that. What we presented to the finance subcommittee was, as of right now, there's an estimated $20,000 increase coming next year on these trucks due to emissions. They're implementing something with the emissions, something along the lines of keeping the exhaust heated so that when you fire the truck up, you don't get that cold puff of smoke. That's a $20,000 hike. In addition to that, we are, by purchasing it outright versus the typical 3 lease payment to buy, we save $12,000 in floor plan. Pretty much when you buy the truck and it takes a year and a half to build, we have to pay a floor plan, they call it, because the truck is kind of in process. So it's a total of $32,000 savings we're looking to do. If we don't do this, we're going to be coming here in July with a number of $32,000 higher and a year longer. So, and in the package is our lineup, 11 trucks to cover 10 routes, leaving us 1 spare. You can see we got out of the 80s and 90s here the last couple of years, so that's where we're at. I'd be happy to take any questions or
2 questions.
comments.
Go ahead.
So 2 questions.
Yes.
Why not just like bypass the so-called new truck and bypass the $20,000 of emission regulations and buy something that's 2 years old or 3 years old? Is there anything on the market out there that would cover this?
So, yeah, good question. There are used trucks out there. We actually tried that with the state. You'll see on the list, there's a 2005 going out. And we paid $6,000 for it. We got a year and a half of headaches, and the truck, it blew the engine, leaked oil over it, and it's no good. So we did try going that used route a couple years ago.
So no one's selling trucks 2 or 3 years old, they're selling trucks that might be 20 years old.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 years, that's pretty tough to find. Another thing, all of our trucks are set up with the same plow controls, sander controls, so anyone could hop in any truck as things change, and they're all unified.
So
Yeah.
the question that I had, and you're in the business, so you would know this, the Mack is pretty much the state of the, like a Freightliner.
Yes.
It's like top of the line kind of thing, right?
Yep,
And I think they're made in Pennsylvania, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
So, yeah, and to that point, a Mack truck, it's really better than a Freightliner. We've been buying them we're going on 4 decades here. We just got rid of a 38-year-old truck. If you look at bigger cities and the state, they buy Freightliners because they're a hair cheaper, but they get rid of them between 10 and 15 years old.
Right.
We're getting 38 years out of a truck. Now you're seeing we're getting 26 years out of a truck because the first 20 years of their life, they were using sand, and it didn't rot the trucks out. Now we're in this salt phase, and
So this truck won't be active for a year and a half, though, you're saying?
year and a half, yeah, we're just buying the cab and chassis right now. Yeah, we're trying to phase it instead of coming here and asking for over $300,000. But get the savings, expedite the process.
The finance committee pushed it into today's meeting because we understood the increased cost and the fact that we're down, how many trucks is it now? 4?
We are down 4. If you look at the list, we have, 3 in production. This would be number 4.
I thought,
Some of these
it's not outfitted yet to be used, at least you get the cab and the chassis, and then you figure out what the box is gonna look like, and if it's a dump or if it's whatever.
Yep, it's gonna match our other trucks, which is, yep.
And we have the money in our vehicle
It's in
maintenance
the
reserve fund.
We do,
Yeah.
yes. We restarted that fund 2 budget years ago. So the first year, we put $200,000 in it. And this last budget year, we put $50,000 in as of July 1st. So we have $250,000 in
So
it, and this is
I think-
exactly what
I think
it was
makes
meant for.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just saved 32,000 or whatever he said by doing it, so.
Yeah, we have to keep on doing the tranches
Yeah.
so that we
Yeah.
don't get surprised every time we need a truck, because trucks, one of them was an accident, and it was not North Branford's fault, it was the other party. And the truck is worth a lot more to us, but to the insurance company, it's $3,000. You're not replacing heavy machinery for $3,000, but the insurance company doesn't care.
Nope.
So it's a loss, and it's a big loss to us. So it's just one of those scenarios where we have to continue to think ahead of the curve and put money into these accounts.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So the 172 change, that's for the cab and chassis, right?
Yep.
But that's for the truck completely built.
Nope, that's just the
No.
truck, cab and chassis, truck and frame, and then the other 155 in the memo will be to build it. We'll request that.
So it's 172 plus 155?
Yep, that's the whole entire truck.
Oh, boy.
They're not cheap.
But we're only doing the 172 right now to get the cabin chassis. And then next budget year, they're coming in for the body.
That's
Mhm.
$375,000.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they've gone up in price. 12 years ago, when I started, they were two change. When Fran started, they were $80,000.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
Now, you're saying $155,000, but that's now. That price could change when they start ordering the parts and everything else. If there's an increase in them getting the parts, that 155,000 can go higher.
yeah, we did have that conversation with the vendor. I think currently they're around 150, and he had us budget 155, assuming that increase.
So if we sign the contract with them, would they be locked in, that they can't go up on their price? I mean, that's it.
Yeah, no, they would have to be locked in, because this is through a Sourcewell contract, so.
Sourcewell is a
Price is
national
the price.
company that we can piggyback on. That's why we don't have to go out to bid for it.
But are we doing right by not going out to bid? And we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we don't look at comparable.
Yeah.
We're not looking at, item A, item B, item C.
I believe, when I've talked to Fran, I know he couldn't be here tonight, but he does do that and will talk to different vendors. It's not so much that he's going out to bid, but he will get those prices, and on other trucks, it might not necessarily be a Mack. Mack is their favorite, is what he's told me, only because it's interchangeable. Like the Mack that they're putting the transmission in right now, if something happens, because it's already noted that there's rust on the frame, and if that truck goes down and the frame cracks and they can't use it, they can take that transmission out and put it into another truck. So we're not losing the transmission, we can reuse it in another truck. That's one of the reasons they tend to keep the same type of trucks in their, but he doesn't just go to Sourcewell. And he does get prices on other trucks.
Yeah, but we don't
to
have the advantage of having those before us tonight, okay? We just have this one Mack truck without, and Tommy brings up a good point. We're not going out to bid, and we're just relying on these figures. And are we doing the right service to the taxpayers of the town by not getting other prices from other, I don't know the names of different truck companies, but, I don't know, with Ford or Dodge or somebody else makes these big trucks. Why don't we have information about those, and so we can make a more educated decision, as opposed to saying, well, we were gonna rely on this because it's a Mack truck and it's interchangeable with all the other stuff, but the bottom line is, we're weakening our position by saying we're only gonna do it with Mack, and this one company.
So.
Dan, I want to take this.
Okay.
Because I'm going to throw myself under the bus.
What do you say?
He's gonna throw himself under the bus.
I'm gonna get out of the way.
Go ahead.
So,
Don't
I
make it a
had all
Mack
the
bus.
concerns that everybody had, for years. And it used to bother me that you'd see the state highway was plowing with Ford trucks, and Vermont was plowing with international trucks, and North Branford had Mack trucks. And so I pushed on the council years ago for Franny to go out to bid and take the lowest bid snowplow truck. So you put the specs out there, we need a truck, it has to be this gross weight, and it has to have a 12-foot plow and carry a sander. So he bought a Freightliner.
Truck 55.
And I just asked Franny, how long did that Freightliner last? Because believe me, I got egg on my face. 6.5 years. The max lasts 26 years.
It was the oddball of the
And
fleet.
owning big trucks, you know, the rear ends and the transmissions and the frames are heavier on a Mack. You go across the scale with an empty Mack truck and go across with a Freightliner, an International, and you got, you know, pounds of steel difference in what it is. So, so I tend to agree that we asked the question, which is smart, but for me, you know, we're kind of stuck with these Mack trucks and we have interchangeable parts on them. And like the new transmission they're putting in will be saved to go in the next Mack truck when this frame is shot or whatever. So I think that this makes sense. But that's just me from true life town council experience. So.
Yeah, well, I respect your experience, Al.
Believe me, I was the one that pushed for it.
Absolutely.
It was no good.
Yeah, I
Yep.
agree.
And we looked at other bands, we spoke to Peterbilt, they were down at our shop, and the trucks weren't the same, they were lighter duty transmissions, and what they were trying to sell us wasn't the same, it wasn't comparable. Not to mention, we have 5 newer Mack trucks, so we could keep the one power steering pump on the shelf, and it fits all 5 trucks at 2 in the morning when something goes down. We're there, and, you know, going out to bid, especially on this one, we run the risk we're probably gonna spend about $30,000 more because you're gonna be buying a truck with that new emissions, not one that's already coming down the line.
But I just bring that up, just from my experience with fleet management in the corporations that I've been in and are still in. You know, the fleet management group goes out every year, and, you know, and they're buying hundreds and thousands of trucks every year. And slowly, sometimes you see the fleet changing from this type of truck to that type of truck, but it's a revolving door, kind of.
Yeah.
I just bring that up because.
But do they salvage their trucks? Like they do. They have a problem with one, they use parts from the other. Probably won't do that.
Right.
So they have to.
You're right, I'm just bringing it up, you know, that
For profit.
you put the specs out, you know, and people come in, but it's just a comment that I'm
Absolutely.
bringing up. I'm not,
No, that's your job, is to look at it from every angle, and
We did this with the police department, if you remember. We changed the fleet. We talked about going into different types of vehicles for police as well. And we found there were some longevity issues with that as well.
Well, Tom-
Well, it's not Brown Vicks anymore.
No, true. And we're all using SUVs now.
Well, Tommy brought up a really good point, and I wanted to hear about it. And my job here is to listen to people with their opinions, and Al has convinced me, based on his experience, that this is the right way to go. So I'm listening to his experience and respect that. No offense.
no.
I think if we
have
allow
a
into this now,
discussion for it.
we're gonna get a higher price later. So.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Right.
Yeah.
I move that the town council approve an allocation not to exceed $173,000 from the town vehicle maintenance reserve fund for a new Mack cab and chassis from Gabrielli Truck Sales via Sourcewell.
I'll second that.
Motion was made by Counselor Diamond, second by Deputy Mayor McMillan. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
So this is not coming out of the public works reserve, it's gonna come out of that special pot of money? the new
It's coming
pot of money.
out of the special pot of money.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Reserve.
There isn't any in Public Works for,
Gotcha.
And so,
well's
so
dry.
having said that and listening to Tommy, so Danny, I think, and we'll talk to Franny, but I don't see anything wrong with, so this one was a leftover truck ready to go. So there was a savings to buy it. But
the next
for
one.
next year's truck or whatever, go out to bid. You don't have to buy one, go out to bid and let's see what the difference is and.
Just for
and
knowledge.
What it is. know?
You can,
You gotta
yeah.
look for a used one. I mean.
We don't have to take it, so.
Yeah,
Look
it's-
for a used Mack truck, you know, somewhere around 2012 or 13, somewhere around there, for the last 26 years.
Yeah, Well, we actually looked at a 2016 recently, but the town, they don't wash them like we do, and, because they were just getting rid of it at the 10-year mark, so.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times they're junks because they know they're getting rid of them every 10 years. They have the money in their operating budget to just rolling stock them. But, you know, can we go out to bid in the future? Yeah. The Sourcewell, you know, they know, I'm just gonna use a number, 31% off MRSP, so someone's gonna come in at 30.5, or, you know, and it's gonna take 90 days, and it's not the guy who's building our truck all the time, could be a different vendor, and,
But what
I
Sourcewell,
agree,
do they
Dan, but
have
we-
different kinds of
we can
trucks?
at least check the price.
Or is it just Mack?
Just our truck.
no, Mack is on Sourcewell,
Okay.
just like John Deere tractor, Ford.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Big money.
Okay, next item, authorizing resolution for renewal of household hazardous waste collection for July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029.
Yeah, so this is a program that the town currently participates in. It offers town residents the ability to dispose of hazardous materials from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. from May to October at the Regional Water Authority facility in New Haven. This is something that was in the budget that passed. There's $22,500 budgeted for this item. And there is a resolution included in the packet as well.
It's on page 39, and it's a long resolution, so you might want to just,
So I move that we approve the resolution as stated on page 39, which will be effective from July 1, 2026 through June 30th, 2029.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion was made by Counselor Diamond, seconded by Counselor Rose. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next is proposed fixed assessment agreement for 280 Branford Road, also known as Central Plaza.
So as the council may remember, the ownership of Central Plaza transferred at the beginning of the year. Since then, we've been in frequent contact with the new owners. As you may recall, there were a number of outstanding blight issues on the property, as well as some building code violations. And you know, we did not anticipate that they would immediately correct them, that it would take them a little bit of time once the ownership transferred to line up contractors, et cetera. And we're happy to report that, you know, the vast majority of the code violations have been remediated already. In addition to that, they have a number of plans underway. They've been getting quotes for some additional projects, trying to bring the plaza up to a higher standard. Around the time of the property transfer, the new owners approached me and asked whether the town would be willing to consider any sort of assistance in terms of their tax burden. And so I took that request and brought it directly to the Economic Development Commission. The past several times that matters have come before the council, like the Economic Development Fund, the council had requested that the Economic Development Commission weigh in on those, and so I brought it directly to the commission to provide a recommendation to the council. Due to the nature of the work that needs to be done there, it is not a good candidate for the town's existing assessment deferral program. The requirements of that program include that the value of the property must increase by 30% or more as a result of that project. And because we're mostly talking about roof replacement, you know, really just remediation of existing issues rather than expansion and improvement, it would not meet the requirements of the program. Additionally, it is not likely to be done all at once. It is something that is going to be done over a number of years. So we started to look for other tools the town could use. And there is a state statute which allows the town to enter into an agreement of up to 30 years with a property owner to do a fixed assessment agreement. And so what that would entail is fixing the assessment for a number of years at a rate specified in the agreement. And so once I had introduced that idea to the Economic Development Commission, it became about what is the term of the proposed agreement and what are the levels of the assessment to be included. So the goal of this agreement is to provide stability and predictability to the property owners in terms of their tax bill. As a result, the Economic Development Commission settled on a 10-year period. They thought that was significant enough to provide the necessary stability without burdening the town long term. And then in terms of the amounts that they selected, the sale price on the property was $3.5 million. 70% of that is approximately $2.45 million. And so the first term was $2.5 million for 3 years. The final term is a 4-year term at $4.1 million, which was the assessed value after revaluation. And the middle term is splitting the difference, moving it halfway between. And so that was the vote that the Economic Development Commission took at their meeting earlier this month. And so I'm presenting it to the council for consideration and looking for some feedback as to any concerns that you may have.
Okay, so I looked at all of the information in our packet as far as the field card and everything else. Based on that information, has the town assessor gone through, do we have information regarding current rents on the property, that type of thing? And has he gone through and done an assessment on this property? Or an analysis of this information?
Sure.
Because I know that, I believe on commercial properties, and especially like this, there are forms that have to be filled out annually, especially on, I know on personal property. On rentals, it might be a little bit different. Given the history of the previous owner, I'm sure he didn't submit those.
That is correct.
So I'm not sure that we have that information, or that information was available to the person, the people that bought it. And so, how would that relate to the information that, I would be interested to see how those numbers relate to what economic development came in at.
Yeah. The new owners have been very forthcoming with information. I handed it out to you all tonight. It should be in your folders.
It's this yellow.
Yeah.
This is
So
about Central Plaza in your packet.
Economic Development had asked them for, some information, some justification for their request. So they provided that, which includes a list of, all of the deferred maintenance from the previous owners. For example, the roof, there was one of the code violations at the building that contains town line spirits was, a persistent roof leak, which was just patch after patch after patch. And so in their preliminary investigation, they said that there are several layers of roofing material that have just been laid on top of one another. And so they've been assembling quotes since they assumed ownership, and that is what was presented to you tonight. Additionally, they provided copies of most of the leases. They expressed concern at providing some of the corporate lease documents, so the USPS and McDonald's. And so I said, understandable if you could provide the rest. So we have those, and we are going through them to provide analysis.
Why is that understandable?
They are
they're paying rent on that property, so.
Correct. They
why is it
provided the-
understandable that the assessor wouldn't have that information to tell us what the difference is?
They are providing the rents, but not the lease documents. As far as I know, they are not.
Okay, so they're gonna supply the rent.
They did. They just,
Okay.
they're not required to
Misunderstood.
supply the lease documents, so.
I misunderstood you.
Yeah. And so I've given that information to the assessor. At first glance, most of them seem well below market, and that is part of the new owner's issue as well. They're in a position where, they need to raise the rents in order to generate the funds to do the work. But if they do so too quickly, they could lose the tenants, in which case they'll have even less money coming in. And so I'm happy to have the assessor review that information, come back to the council with a more formal analysis. But, what we're looking to provide them is, Central Plaza is a key component of the town. It's been in bad condition for decades. And so, we're glad that the town was able to play a role in facilitating the transfer of the property. But now that it is transferred, we're looking to be a good partner with the new owners, and to the extent possible, see if we can provide them a little bit of breathing room so that we can see the improvements to the plaza more quickly. In speaking with them, they're town residents, they own other businesses in town as well. I believe that they want to do right by the town, they want to improve the plaza, but they're really in a difficult position at the moment, so.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. They're looking for a fixed tax assessment, but they still have the opportunity to go up on the square footage of the rents for each particular tenant, correct? Now, how does that play a role into the fixed tax assessment? How do they benefit and how do we benefit?
Over what the fixed assessment agreement would do is we would know exactly what the town's tax income would be for the period of the agreement. It fixes the assessment, and so the mill rate will change, and the new mill rate will apply, but the assessment remains the same.
I understand that, but that's not my question. The tenants stand a chance of getting rental increases based on the square footage.
Yeah.
So that's a bigger profit for the landlord. How does that benefit us? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean.
We're helping them, but how do we get paid back as well?
So essentially by the plaza improving. The way that we structured the draft agreement is that between each period, it is not an automatic renewal. There's 3 separate periods. Each period requires an affirmative vote of the council. So if after 3 years you are not satisfied with the progress at the plaza, you can cancel the agreement.
All right. We've often said, we've had speakers come before us, part of our problem is we are a farming community, and we need businesses, if we can get them in, to help offset the taxes that homeowners have to pay. Isn't this the reverse of that we're giving them a fixed assessment and they're paying less taxes to us? And doesn't that make it more of a burden on the homeowners, the residents?
It is a longer-term approach. So yes, in the short term, by reducing the assessed value, there will be less tax income coming in from the property. The hope is that, at the end of the 10-year agreement, in addition to the natural increase in the property value that would come through revaluation cycles, you will also see the value that comes from the investments in the property. And so at the end of the 10-year period, basically it's a cash flow solution. By reducing the amount of money that they need to allocate to taxes, they're able to invest more money into the property in the short term. And the pay for the town is on the tail end of that.
But basically, we're paying for his upgrades.
Basically.
Well, What I don't understand is the current value, I'm just spinning around here trying to find it again. I thought it was approximately 6 million, right?
That's what, yes,
Right, the current, on the book, the
Right.
appraised value.
the appraised value, which was done as a mass, during the reval.
Yeah, okay. So why would at the end of 10 years, it fall back to current market value? Why would it be a lower rate?
No, not
The
the
10th
the
year.
then present market value. So whatever the market value would be in 10 years.
Yeah.
The property would be assessed as a part of the revaluation process, but the assessed value on which the taxes would be based would be the value in the agreement. At the end of that 10-year period, it goes to what the present assessed value is, not the current.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, I'm mixing terms up, but that's what I mean, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I don't know, I think we gotta think about this a little
Well,
bit.
I think what we need is, we need the assessor.
Right, I think
To-
this is like information that we got, we just got it tonight.
We need some time to think through.
I think we,
didn't anticipate that the council would move this forward tonight. It's more, if there are specific things you're looking for from the
Yeah.
assessor, to
Yeah,
make
we
sure that
just
we're
need- we
answering
need-
your
How much time do you
questions.
want? 2 months, 1 month?
no, the assessor probably couldn't have information for our July meeting.
So I'll make a motion to table.
Just let me ask one question.
Until,
Just let me ask one question.
oh, go ahead.
The IGA space that's there, that's vacant, it's been vacant for a long time. If they end up getting someone to occupy that space, does that person end up paying taxes based on their business themselves too? Is that how that works, or would they?
It will depend. Kind of the industry standard now is a triple net lease. And in one of those leases, yes, the business owner is responsible for the property taxes. So, I mean, that's a good point. It would be passed on to the business owner, the tenant. And that, looking at the leases, the existing leases, none of them are triple net. I think maybe one.
But the other.
Their big focal point is occupying that big space.
But the other thing is, the tenant would pay personal property tax on the equipment and stuff. That's totally separate from the real estate tax. They would still be responsible for the person, depending on the type of business. So they would pay, they have to file a form, it's due every November 1st, and they get charged again on the personal property. And that's separate from the real estate.
Part of the other issue is that they are locked into some of these leases. These were negotiated by the prior owner, they inherited them, and now, they have several years until the end of these lease terms. And so, to your question, Councilor Mace, they won't be able to renegotiate some of these leases for a number of years. So they're locked into their current cash flow.
Oh, I understand that, Dick, but we're giving them a 10-year fixed assessment. In the meantime, they can still capitalize on their tenants by every month going up on the price per square footage.
No.
every other
No.
year.
No, that's what he just said.
Not the lease, not the
Not the
current
lease.
lease.
Not the, no,
What-
the lease is expired.
Some of the leases are expired, some of them are still
Yeah.
current, so they will not be able to do
I
that.
know, but eventually it happens.
Yes.
But that we also have the right, according to this, so the first fixed assessment is for 3 years. So at the end of that 3 years, we have the right to cancel the fixed assessment before you go to the next block of years on there. So that is written into the, so we do have, it's not an automatic, like he said. But I think we need more information from the assessor.
Yeah, we need the assessor to tell us how many dollars we're talking. Because if I do the mental math on what is, they're from their 4.1 to the 2.5, it's over $500,000 in taxes over 10 years that the rest of the people in town are giving to them. And, I did a lot of development in my life. When you buy something, you know what you're buying.
But it's not
So
2.5
it's
for the
not
whole
just
2
it's not
years,
just the
10
kid,
years.
Well, if I read this thing here and it's for 10 years, it's over 500,000. And I got that from the assessor.
No, I'm just saying that you said it's not 2.5 because it goes up. So I know there is a reduction in the taxes, but it doesn't stay at the
So,
2.5.
What I'm saying is, we need the assessor to do an analysis of
Right.
whatever they're doing here.
And we need more data.
And give us the proper amount.
Yeah.
because
That'll be my motion
Then
to
we'd have
table
to
it next
decide
meeting.
whether we want to give them 500,000.
Okay.
Or 400,000,
Or 600.
or 600,000. So that's what we have to decide.
Do you have a motion on it?
Because it is a burden on everybody else in town.
Sorry to cut you off, Vince,
Wait.
go ahead.
I make a motion to table this here motion for the fixed tax assessment until the July 2026 town council meeting with the assessor to come before us with the town manager to explain to us all of the proprieties of the agreement for the fixed tax assessment for Central Plaza.
If I may to be clear, that would be a motion to postpone to a date certain, the date certain being that July date.
You don't want to table, you want to postpone it?
Well, no, you cannot, if you table it, you can't table it to a specific date. If you want to have it a specific date, it's technically a motion to postpone to a date certain.
All right,
Just table it for now.
based on council's, a motion to postpone the current fixed tax assessment for Central Plaza until the July 2026 town council meeting with the assessor to provide town manager with information to answer our questions at that July meeting. Better, Counselor?
Yes, sir, that's perfect.
Second.
Motion was made by Counselor May, seconded by Counselor Zampano.
So for discussion purposes, so since you must have information, and I know you talked to EDC or whatever, but, so this bottom line that reads.
I didn't talk to EDC.
Request freezing property tax assessment at 2.5 million for 10 years. So that's wrong? You're
Well,
saying the
that-
assessment goes up?
Yeah.
That
according
was
to-
not the
So
recommendation of
that
EDC.
sentence is wrong.
Well, this is from the owners of the plaza. What's in our.
Including a document.
What's,
Well, what are we looking at?
well, there's the memo in our packet that laid out what the break, how many years 1 through 3, it was 2.5, 4
Right,
through
7
7 goes to 3 point something,
So
and
I
then it
see
goes.
that, but that's the other thing. Then let's get one document that we're looking at.
Well, this just gave us, this was information from the
One
day.
document that's the right document at the next meeting.
That was
Or
provided
whenever you're gonna get it.
for additional context.
Yeah.
Because it's deferred maintenance
We
list
need to
for
know
the
how much
property.
money we're gonna give them.
Right.
But also, I mean, can't we create partly a negotiation here too? If we.
This is the recommendation of the EDC.
Right.
It is ultimately the council's decision.
Right, yes, it definitely,
Right,
it's a starting point.
yeah, yeah, gotcha.
It's a starting point for us. That's it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. Tax refunds. Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the tax refund of $2,758.24 to Leonard David and Carrera Lori.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Counselor Diamond, second by Deputy Mayor McMillan. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Appropriation transfers?
You have some transfers in front of you from EMD, Amatrudo with the Emergency Management Department, moving some money around there. Louisa, some money in social services for cover some mileage. The library covering some additional books and digital content. And then a transfer from the Recreation Department to Public Works that actually does the field recreation repairs.
I'll make the motion that the North Branford Town Council hereby approves the following appropriation transfers as recommended by the town manager and the treasurer/finance director.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Financial report.
Financial report, the departments that were over previously, again, we're working on the consolidated cost center, getting that resolved. Would be a transfer before you at the next meeting. The mayor and council and the zoning board of appeals are both over due to advertising. The big one at the bottom, the operating transfers out, is the reclassification of the fund balance transfers that we did a couple months ago. On track for another year in the black with one more month left to go. We are starting the process. We signed the paperwork, the engagement letter for the auditors. They'll be coming in the latter part of June to start the 26 audit. No surprises as of yet.
Okay. So I have a question in regards to accounts, departments that will have money left over. And I know it was brought up during budget season in the police department when they presented their budget at their workshop in March. The chief had talked about, he knows of contracts coming due in the next 2, 3, 4 years that are going to have an increase. And he had asked if we could take some money that's left over in his account and put it into a non-lapsing account so that we can use that money when those contracts come due to lessen the tax increase. Is that possible?
Typically operating expenses, you wouldn't move that money for. I know he has some plans to purchase some vehicles this year with some savings that he has built up.
Right, but this would, he specifically talked about contracts that were coming due in a couple years and wanting to establish like a non-lapsing account. That's the best way to describe it, so that the money's there and we have less of a tax burden that year. So.
Yeah. Typically, you don't want to do that. But I'll talk to Chief Lovelace and get some more information from him.
Is it allowed through GASB or
GASB
what-
regulations? If it's an operating expense, it should be operating expense in the year that it's incurred. You shouldn't, if you have savings, discussion we have every year about departments that have savings and what happens to that savings. Does it just fall back to fund balance, which we were teetering at a, lower level than we've, been at previously. We want to bolster the fund balance a little bit. If people have savings, that's a great thing. Or do you want to allow them to move it to future years? It's ultimately the council's call.
I just want to know if it's allowed.
I would, I'll do some research and get back to you. My initial answer is no, but I'll check on it.
Okay,
It's an operating expense in that year or so.
correct.
Yeah.
But kind of planning ahead.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's coming and not knowing what the conditions might be at that time.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I just wanted to know, does the auditor allow it? Do all of the recommendations from the different organizations? And I know municipalities are different than private sector, so that's why I'm asking the question.
A couple of things I want to touch on before I give it the floor back. The opioid funds, we had some additional money come in today at $1,542. The transfer you approved times 2 for the life packs will leave $11,892 in the opioid fund after these transactions occur.
But do we get an annual, have we been getting?
We get money all along.
Due to the lawsuit, and we get money that comes
From each of
in?
the various, whether it's Walgreens or all the various firms that have the schedules of when they have to remit, we get letters, and shortly thereafter we get the money, yeah.
And approximately?
We got 46,000 in '23, 49,000 in fiscal '24, 20,000 in fiscal '25, so far about 24,000 change in fiscal '26.
Okay.
So a total of 140 roughly, and we spent 128, the police and the life packs, leaving about $11,800 in that pot still.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, there was discussion about the MBHS, where we are on that budget. A couple of items, there's some two different contingencies amount. There's a owner's contingency and the manager's contingency, construction manager. Combined, it's about $360,000 left on both contingencies. 69 on the owner's one and 290 on the overall contingency. So I got about $360,000 left on that budget.
Now, does that account for the money that's allocated for the athletic storage building? Is that already out of that? That's what's left after we took out the 89,000, or do we still have to take money out of that?
That is a grand question. I will get an answer for you.
So the athletic storage building.
And I thought we were supposed to get an answer on that. What was progress on it?
Well, no, it's just the funding of it comes out of the contingency. So the numbers he just gave us in contingency, did they already take the 89,000 out of that? Or is it just the money that was spent, which was probably around $25,000? So there might need to be more that comes out of that. And I know they're doing the green roof there, they're still doing work on, and so it's not completely finished on that. So, okay.
One more thing. The police station project is unfortunately over budget. Right now, through the most recent report, we're about 16,430. The budget was 16,250. The largest item, one of the largest items that's over is the interest expense. And I pulled out the memo that was done back in 2020 when we talked about financing. And at the time, the project was slated for about $250,000 of interest cost, and that's what we budgeted. And the game plan at that point was notes in 2020, notes in 2021, and then bond it permanently in 2022. As we all know, the police station project dragged for a couple different reasons. We were not able to close the money. We had to put money out again. So that $250,000 estimate of interest, which again was predicated back when interest rates were low as well, ended up being closer to $524,000. The interest rates that helped on the investment side of our house went against us on the short-term financing. In 2021, we paid 0.13% for one-year bands, which went to 1.65 in 2022, and then 3.4 in 2023 and 3.3 in 2024. So while it helped us on the investment side of our investment, it hurt us on the short-term financing piece. And in all honesty, the budget should have been amended once we realized we weren't going to do the 2 bands and 1 bond. We ended up doing 4 bands and it dragged the project out.
Is the project completely bonded?
It's completely bonded. And what I'll try to do is we're going to work, this came out to the light as we went through the numbers to get some numbers for you tonight. We'll go through the entire police department budget line by line, and we'll get firm numbers for you next month to see what the final number is. So the good part of it is that there's cash. We got bond premiums in, so there's cash in the fund. It's a matter of we're bumping against the bond resolution number, which will need probably a supplemental appropriation next year's CIP, as well as modifying the bond resolution for whatever we get to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, we're done. I'm not sure if we're anywhere near, the HVAC is, I don't know where the, no?
They're waiting to get through the summer, is my understanding, to see how the air conditioning functions.
So, well, as soon as we get firm numbers, we can throw, that's it, final number, what's the project cost, come back to you guys, modify the bond resolutions, take the money out of the cash.
So on a project like this, you charge the project interest when, on the short-term bans, they don't get credit for the money that you earn?
Oh, yeah, no, they do. Let's say there's cash in this pot. There's over $1 million of cash.
So then how can they be over budget?
Because we've got bond premiums. Stand by.
Well, I would think if the budget was $1 million and you spend $1,100,000, $1,100,000, you're over budget.
Yeah, but in that $1,100,000 is the interest they're charging you.
No, I understand that, but the revenue you're gonna generate from interest that's over and above your budget, right?
Right, but the bond resolution, remember, it does two things. It allows you to bond the 10 point, I forget the number, 16.2, I think was the number at this point, and spend 16.2. So if you want to spend more than 16.2, that bond needs to be changed to resolution 2, whatever. Again, we don't have a final number yet.
Right, the 16.2 is the
Their budget,
the
yep.
budget. So if we earn.
$1 million of bond premium, the million,
That's over and
139.
above the 16.2.
No.
Why?
Because you can't spend more than the 16.
No. What I'm trying to get at is, if the bond is, if the budget's 16.2.
Right.
And we spend 17.2,
Yeah,
we're $1 million over budget.
right.
Right. So if we're 16.2 and we spend whatever, but we have that other $1 million, we're still over budget. Right?
You're over budget on the expense side of the house, but you have cash.
Right, but you budgeted. My
16.2.
point is, you budgeted a number.
Right.
If we have whatever money we have in the kitty, that's.
So what happens to that $1 million cash that we have?
That then will be used in subsequent years as other funding in capital plans to move forward, like we do every year. We close out prior capital projects.
So it is part of the capital project. If we're gonna close out that capital project and you
Right.
have $1 million and you're gonna put it to a different one.
Right, when
so-
the time comes. And whether it's in time for 27, 28 budget, I don't know. Depends on how long things get wrapped up. Same with the high school.
Well, the high school takes a little longer because of the state.
Again, so the same logic will apply, though. Once we have everything firm, wrapped up, and put to bed, whatever the money that's left in those two capital projects will be rolled forward in subsequent years, CIP.
Are we bonded on the high school project?
100%.
So we're done bonding?
We're done bonding as of last August.
That's
Both
what I
pieces, the
thought,
final
okay.
pieces were bonded.
Okay.
So now, like I said, we're in a good position. The bond premium is a revenue source for us. It stays in this fund. And additionally, again, there was interest that was earned while the money was sitting there.
I guess that's what I don't understand.
But the money is not just sitting there, you're doing something with that.
It's invested. Yeah. There's 215,000 of interest as of last June. So between the 1,139,000 and the 2 change of interest, there's gonna be a chunk of money there, cash-wise, not expense-wise.
Right.
Unless you want to modify the bond resolution, and we will need to do that once we get every single cost finalized. Is it 16.4, is it 16.5, is it 16.6? I don't know until we get all the costs in.
Right, but if we go over the budgeted number,
Right.
we're over budget,
Exactly.
regardless.
You're right, you're right.
Okay.
And I think the problem, the biggest culprit was the fact that we didn't modify the budget for the additional bonding. We had, the sheet that was done, again, showed 243. The motion we did was 250, give a little cushion. Well, again, that was predicated on the interest rate back then of 1.5 that he predicated it on, and 2 bands and 1 bond, and we ended up doing 4 bands. The money just getting held out there while these construction delayed and everything else. There's time value of money, So that's where we are.
Okay. All right. Next item, citizen statements and petitions.
Potter, Northford. Want to thank you. I believe, I tried to listen as best I could. You did approve tractor pulls 2 a year, funded with insurance, right?
Correct.
Okay, because I was the original Agricultural Commission chairman, I'm working with the present group that's trying to start. We have a guy, as long as he's got insurance, he will pick up where our other guy, who, for health reasons, won't run it anymore. This guy just wanted to make sure he's safe, he wanted to be insured. He's a great guy, he's picking right up. The pulls will be successful. The Agricultural Commission that's present now will be happy with a spring and fall pull. And I believe I still got to get to Kerry. I still have projected dates for 2027.
I mean, you could do one in October if you had.
Yeah, one in October, and I think I got a spring date.
Okay.
And that way, that's because the commission's very busy, the members always were. That's why as a phone guy, I became the chairman of the original one. So these guys, they think it can work. We got the guy in position, and we can go forward. One I thank you for that. One thing that bothers me sitting back here, Franny's not here. I still call him a subject matter expert. You're losing another subject matter expert. Florio's leaving the town. You're gonna feel that hit you so hard because what he had here isn't on paper anywhere. John cared. He got up every morning. Remember, he was running around starting the school air conditioner?
That's really the Board of Ed, not us,
Yeah,
so.
okay. When Franny asked for something, he's done hours and hours and hours and hours of research. When his guys, and now Danny, when they're out plowing at 4 o'clock in the morning in a blizzard, is that bargain basement truck you bought gonna break down? Are you gonna come out and help him get it back to the garage? Are you gonna run for parts made by a different vendor to fix that truck? Franny has established what works. I know you're looking at the budget, but at the same time, look at the experience. Look at the history. North Branford's town roads are known, and all of them have got such big crowns, I don't know how they don't fall off the center of the roads. And I live on a state road, so I don't get to enjoy this as much as you guys on town roads. But again, they've established what works. Don't mess with it. Fund it. When he can get 30-plus years out of a truck and a plow, and nobody gets hurt, and the roads are plowed, I call that success. Wiggling into that and trying to nickel and dime it, I think you take away that success. And you also take away his integrity. Franny is known industry-wide for what he does and what he doesn't do. He's established that. There's a rapport. When somebody answers the phone and Fran's on the other end, they know he knows what he's talking about. So again, I understand that you're worried about the money, but at the same time, in the middle of the night when these guys got support, they've got it because they bought a particular brand of truck that's interchangeable. And I mean, again, we got good employees. When Franny retires, there's gonna be another contact that's gonna be hard to replace, and that's not the Board of Ed headache. It's gonna be everybody in town's gonna feel it. And again, we're lucky we've got such great employees that stick with the town. Like I keep telling you, I won't live anywhere else because we've got skin in the game. Everybody's got skin in the game. We're proud to live in this town because you guys do a good job, and gals, gotta be careful. And we somehow always land on our feet. And at the end of the year, we still all like each other. I'll leave it like that.
All right, thank you.
Now I know my mailbox is in the middle of my lawn where to go now.
Okay.
Well, if it's a state truck, you never find
And that's the kind of knows my mailbox is in the middle of the lawn.
Hi, Chuck Larkins, Clear Lake. I just want to give you some information, Councilman Rose. You asked who owns the bottom of Cedar Lake. I live on Clear Lake 51 years. I can tell you the state owns the bottom of Clear Lake. I suspect Cedar Lake is the same. The deeds are on Clear Lake, or you own to the high water mark of the lake, and that's it. The bottom of the lake belongs to the state. The water belongs to the state. So that's what I know about the water, and I suspect Cedar, Lindsley, I think they're all gonna be the same.
I think Anthony had found on the deed who owns the.
Yeah, the lake itself actually is just a null. There's no card for it.
Right. And real estate agents that sell houses around at least Clear Lake, they'll tell you, oh, buy this house, you get deeded lake rights. No, you don't. That's out. They're not in it. You don't get deeded lake rights at all. So it's a lot of rumors are out there and just crazy statements. But I was deep involved with the Clear Lake Association, and I can tell you that's what I found, is the state owns it.
Thanks.
All right?
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Any other citizen statements? Okay. We're ready to go into
All right.
executive session.
I'm going to ask Madam Mayor that we enter executive session as set forth in Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-200, in bracket 6, to discuss the appointment and employment of the town manager, to include the acting town manager, the newly appointed town manager, and the town attorney.
Yes.
Do you want the newly appointed town manager for this?
Yes.
Scott, do you want to run?
Can we?
Want to call you?
Yeah.
Call you
Yeah.
somebody to take you up?
Well, we first have-